Welcome to the On Your Mind podcast, where we believe mental illness can be temporary and transformative. Stay tuned for innovative, effective tools from experts in the field of mental health. Hosted by Timothy J. Hayes, psychologist. This podcast aims to change the narrative around mental illness. Move from a place of fear to a place of hope and solutions. Here on Your Mind.
Modie Lavin is a USMC Gold Star mother. Modie understands the needs for mental health programs for military families firsthand. Modie's son served as Corporal in the U.S. Marine Corps and deployed to Afghanistan in 2011 with the 2nd Battalion, 11th Marines. Her son, Connor T. Lowry, was killed in action on 3/1/2012 in Helmand Province, Afghanistan. Modie is the Family Outreach Coordinator at Rush University Medical Center. Prior to coming to Rush, she was the program facilitator for veterans at the Chicago Park District and worked closely with the Jesse Brown VA and other community service providers and organizations. Modie, thank you for being here. It's delightful to meet you finally.
Yes, delightful to meet you too.
I like to ask people, what got you into what you're doing now? How'd you get started in it, and what drives your passion?
Right. That's a great opening question, Dr. Hayes, because I had my own business for 17 years. I was a decorative artist. I did murals and other types of artwork in places of residence and commercial. But my son was in the Marine Corps. He was deployed to Afghanistan. And on March 1st, 2012, my life came to a screeching halt and pretty much crumbled because my son was killed in Afghanistan on March 1st of 2012. The loss of a child, especially in a third world country where you can't be with them, is more devastating than I can really describe in words. But as I just said, it brought my life to a halt. And I was pretty numb and unknowing of anything going on in my life for about a year. It really destroyed my mental health. The grieving took on forms that I was unfamiliar with. And even to the thoughts of why am I living? But luckily, I have an amazing family and community, and with lots of support, they stood me up. They kept me going. And I also, during that first year, had the opportunity to meet my son's battle buddies when they returned back from Afghanistan. And that really impacted me because I saw the devastation and the trauma they were going through. I kept in touch with them. I also got to know a couple of their mothers. And this natural occurrence happened where I passionately, compassionately wanted to help veterans suffering from PTSD, anxiety, depression, transition problems. Specifically combat veterans at that time, now just any veteran. As I said, it kind of came naturally, and I really wanted to do something to help because I understood that this grief didn't belong just to me. And therefore, I started out at working at the Chicago Park District as a program manager, and I started recreational programs in Chicago communities for veterans. And it was a really great push start for me to get back in the workforce. I was still on shaky ground.
2013, 2014?
2013, exactly. And then after a couple of years there, this amazing program I heard about called the Road Home Program at Rush University was just had their doors open not too long. And I heard about the great work they were doing for these invisible wounds of war. And I applied for a job, Dr. Hayes, and I got it. I'm an outreach coordinator there. And I'm going to say this proudly. I am probably one of the most passionate people in serving the veteran community and their family members. I truly can't believe that this is my job, that I'm able to make this my mission, because I truly feel it in my heart. So that's my story, a little run-on sentence there, but I wanted you to get the full picture.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I don't have any words. We have, had some major losses in our family. A lot of military. Fortunately, none of our military family died in the military, but we've had, my sister lost a child, and we've had our series of losses in the family. So my heart goes out to you, and my congratulations for your being able to turn that corner. You said people stood you up, and I would offer you stood up with their help and turned it into a blessing for you and others. So congratulations for finding a way through that darkness.
Thank you. Yeah, we have that fork in the road. It's sometimes nice that somebody's holding onto your shoulders and saying, don't go down that path. Try this one. And now try the uncomfortable one, the one you don't want to do.
And now you're doing that for others.
Yes. Yeah.
So what are some of the ways that you and the Road Home program are helping our veterans?
Wow, the list is long, but I'm going to point to that phrase I said earlier, the invisible wounds of war. We're very familiar with veterans who come home with disabilities, scars, disfigurement, and those we can see, okay? So we treat the ones you can't see, and they can be just as debilitating. So the Road Home program is a mental health clinic under the Department of Psychiatry at Rush University Medical Center. This clinic zeroes in on post-traumatic stress, military sexual trauma, anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues that come from not only serving in combat that so many think of, but just serving in the military. And we accept any discharge status. I mean, if you wore the uniform for one day, you're eligible at the Road Home program. And we also see their family members. That's unlike our VA, who does beautiful work, and they do such a huge spectrum of support for veterans. We're strictly mental health, but the VA doesn't include the family members, okay? And we find that healing is quite helpful. So yes.
Now, let me just say that as I was doing some research for this and looking at the website, I got the impression that veterans can come and get this assistance and they don't have to pay for it.
You got that right. No cost. Kind of our goal is to reduce those barriers to care. Okay. So we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure you get in there, because we understand mental health. As soon as if you start hearing the word no, or if it costs them thing and other barriers, we feel that we're pushing them away farther. So we try to keep that door as wide open as possible. So we even have a program, Dr. Hayes, called our IOP. It's the Intensive Outpatient Program. It's kind of what I call the boot camp of mental health therapy, in which we condense maybe 6 to 9 months of weekly therapy appointments into a 2-week time. And we fly veterans in from all over the United States, and they stay at a guest house just about a block from our clinic. We shuttle them to and from for programming every day, Monday through Friday. 8 to 5, all meals provided, and I'm going to go back to that no cost. We do this at zero cost, and we're going to help them, in the event that maybe they can't leave because of their job. They really want that 2-week program, but we're going to even assist with their employers. Okay, do they need a letter from us? We can also help if they need some financial support during those 2 weeks. People can't just walk away from a job and say, I'm going to get help. But so again, those barriers to care, we really try to reduce. And we bring them out in 2 weeks, and we have seen significant changes in the veterans. We include their family members. We used to fly out the family members. Right now, we're still doing that. We are doing it virtually due to COVID, but our veterans are in person. We're lucky to be attached to Rush University with COVID protocols at, such a high level. So yeah, that's what we do. And we have little nicknames for ourselves, suicide prevention clinic. So many have had suicide attempts, suicide ideations. So we don't want them to get to that point. Okay. And so we offer this, like, come on out. And some of the magic to it is being with other veterans in a cohort. Okay. This 2-week program, there's approximately 12 to 18 veterans. Also the inclusion of the family members, in which we give them psychoeducation. And we also have an integrative approach. It's not just CPT therapy. We have art therapy, mindfulness, yoga. We have support for substance use if they have been struggling with that prior to coming, and other various programs that are very supportive.
Wonderful. And I believe you said earlier that when you signed on, there were only 17 or 18 people in the program. And how many? I mean, I was going through the list of clinicians, and it seemed like it went forever. How many people are employed in the Road Home program? Right.
I'm going to give you a rough estimate off the top of my head, because some come and go. But we have a team all the way from psychiatrists, psychologists, all the way down to back office admin. Everybody, being so important in the roles. I'm going to guess that we're around 70 employees at this time.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And we're a nonprofit. Okay. We're philanthropically funded 100%. We are under the Rush umbrella, so it's kind of this unicorn of how can you be attached to this major medical university but still be running as a nonprofit. And it really works out well. So
how do people find out about this? I'm a clinician in the suburbs, distant suburb of Chicago, halfway between Chicago and Rockford. And I was startled to find out about the program. I've had some connections with people further out, closer to Rockford, and the VA people out there, and I've done work the VA in Evanston, and never knew about this program. So how are you reaching out to the veterans, and how can they get more information? How's that exchange happening?
Sure. Great question. Well, I'm going to start out with saying it's my job to make sure that you know about it. So today we're connecting, and now you know more about it. That is exactly it. I do my best to make my reach far and wide to bring awareness about this program. And we also have a staff of outreach coordinators like myself, all doing the same. The staff are all veterans and or family members like myself. But we do that through, multi-layers, Dr. Hayes, through social media campaigns, phone calls. We used to host a lot of events pre-COVID in communities where we would hope to engage veterans living in those communities. We do like a softball tournament, or maybe partner with another organization in something they're doing. So we try to make ourselves as visible as possible. We're also real big on education, and it's part of my job to educate the public, and I can even offer, non-military veteran providers like yourself, provide military 101s to your staff. And PTSD 101, Road Home Program 101. These are just opportunities that we open ourselves up for unfamiliar providers and communities. So yeah, there's a good sampling, but as you know, outreach can come in many shapes and sizes. We do whatever we can.
I keep thinking about the Hope for the Day program out of Chicago.
Yeah, we partner with them.
And the way they would go to these concerts and either set them up or work with people who are having concerts and have it piggyback. It's a wonderful way to kind of blend and kind of infiltrate other audiences and venues where people wouldn't normally be talking about the mental health issues, but normalizing those conversations. Is that the kind of thing that you've done also?
Absolutely. Oh my God, she said it so well. Normalizing the conversation, that stigma, right? When we talk about veterans and PTSD, it almost comes off as though it's a weakness. So let me clarify something. There is a stigma out there, okay, that all veterans that come back from combat and or the military all have PTSD. I mean, that couldn't be further from the truth. About 30% come home with some sort of mental health issue, okay? 70% integrate back into civilian life very well and are carrying on. So the Road Home program serves that 30%. So I wanted to tuck that in there, that we're not talking about every veteran, but it is hard to reach the ones. Sometimes they might not even know they need help. So yes, we do exactly as you mentioned, like Hope for the Day, try to be wherever we can be to get that message out and to also relieve that stigma. We're talking about the ones that you might know. You might have a neighbor. You might be at a concert. As I always like to say, these veterans that need help are hiding in plain sight, okay? And a lot of times we reach the family member before we reach the veteran, okay?
Yeah.
There could be a spouse, a parent, a partner.
A child.
A child. There's studies about child developmental issues relating to living with a veteran that has PTSD. And we see children at the Road Home program. We have child psychiatrists and psychologists on staff. So we do whatever we can. And you don't have to, a family member can receive therapy at the Road Home program, outpatient therapy, without even their veteran going.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, is that on site? Are you doing more of that virtual now through the coronavirus times?
Yeah, we are doing outpatient. Earlier I talked about our IOP, our intensive outpatient. That is in person, where we fly them in from all over the U.S. or right in our backyard here in the Chicagoland area. Our outpatient, you can still come in-person visits, but for Illinois only, we are doing virtual visits. And that seems to be a little more popular right now for obvious reasons than the in-person. But yes, family and or veterans are eligible at no cost to receive virtual therapy if they reside in the state of Illinois.
So aside from the actual presence of loving family and friends, what would you say was one of the biggest things that helped you get over this loss or turn it into a purposeful motivator?
Purposeful motivator, right? Because I don't think we ever get over it. I feel changed. I know I'm changed for life. And it's a mindset of waking up every day. And I don't have a good day every day. But waking up every day and saying, all right, what tools do I have in my bag to make this a good day?
What, aside from the actual presence of loving family and support, helped you the most in moving on with this?
Well, as I stated earlier, Dr. Hayes, it's getting out of my own head and my own trauma. And when you're serving others, I do believe you're serving yourself. Okay, so if I'm not thinking about my trauma all day long and I'm trying to help somebody else, that for me works. Does it work for everybody? I have no idea. But it's funny that you bring that up because I thought it was just me, okay, a Gold Star mother, that this Well, I come to find out there's a Gold Star Mothers chapter nationally and in the state of Illinois. And so I come upon a meeting about a year and a half after my Connor passed, and I find out there's lots of Gold Star Mothers. In fact, our mission as a national, the American Gold Star Mothers, is to help veterans. So that's when I thought, I'm like, oh my gosh, this came naturally for me, but it became natural for all of them. So I think the support of the American Gold Star Mothers, and specifically my Illinois chapter, has helped me tremendously. And I received therapy for myself for quite a while. So I'm the biggest proponent in saying, get therapy. It's so worth it.
Well, and it's wonderful that the stigma is getting loosened and faded a bit so that people can actually find out about the more effective tools that have been developed over the past 20 and 30 years, for whether it's, a combat trauma or just the trauma of being in the military and having to adjust to come back to civilian life, or it's the actual mental health issues that come on us later in life, whether we were in the military or not. And if we can, as we were talking about earlier, normalize the conversation and empower people to ask, the hope for the day motto, it's okay not to be okay for now. It's okay to say I'm not okay. And in that admission of an issue that needs help or resolution, I'm inviting the tools that might be most useful for me.
That's one of my favorite sayings. It's okay to not be okay. And I can say that loud and proud now about myself if I'm having a day, right? But before I forget, I wanted to move into mentioning that we serve MST, military sexual trauma. Something, if you want to talk about a stigma or something that they want to keep hush-hush, the Road Home program is forging, and we're doing such amazing things in the MST community. That falls under PTSD. Okay, so when I say we serve veterans with PTSD, that IOP I was talking about, we do combat veterans for 2 weeks, and then the next 2 weeks will be for MST, military sexual trauma. It's a real thing. It's caused major mental health issues, and we have a staff so honed in this subject matter and so helpful. So I just wanted to make sure I tucked that in because I kind of left it off at the.
Well, and it goes, for both genders. It's like what is it, 1 in 100 men, and much more common among women. But it's not just women serving in the military who are subjected to that sexual trauma.
Believe it or not, do you know that there's more men than women in the military? This is the numbers I've heard. But then again, let's break down the, difference in gender in the military to begin with. Okay. I do believe it's 80% male and 20% female.
So the actual number of women who are subjected to sexual trauma is smaller. The percentage of women is higher per 100 women, but the number of men is actually larger than the raw number of women, simply because 80% of the population is male.
You got it.
And so the recognition that this is one of the things that as a clinician for a lot of years, we've understood that most of the sexual abuse that we hear about or people come in and talk about is women or young girls who were sexually abused. That's just what we hear about because the stigma in the population is so strong that many people we sit with who are male have been abused and they won't mention it.
Right. That's exactly right. And Road Home program tries to remove that stigma as well. because a lot of people will say, I assume that's female only cohorts. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's how you identify. So that, we see transgender and other, it's how you identify. You are eligible for our program based on your trauma. And based on, we also have criteria, Dr. Hayes. We don't accept anybody just because you call. Doesn't mean you will be accepted into our IOP. We do have to look at some history there, the providers you've been working with, and make sure that you're a good fit. We don't, accept actively using substance use. But if you have shown that, in the last 60 days or so that you completed a program, we talked to your provider, absolutely. Actively using would be disruptive to a cohort, right? We also, take our clinicians professionally take, kind of a temperature check on making sure you're a good fit. Do you need something a little more high level than what we offer?
Well, and I think you're tremendously aided by the fact that your website is so well done and professional and relatively easy to navigate.
Thank you.
And, when I'm researching for these kinds of interviews, sometimes I get lost on the website, and that wasn't the case here. There's a beautiful video about the military sexual trauma, and there's a female clinician describing it, and there's a beautiful video about the IOP program. So it's a real wonderful tool, and that the website is roadhomeprogram, all one word, .org.
You got that right.
And is the website the best way for people to make contact with the program or ask for an evaluation?
The website is one of our tools. Okay. You can also call our main number, which is 312-942-VETS, 312-942-8387. And you can also reach out to me. Okay. I'm an outreach coordinator. I'm the one that's trying to bring the message to the communities. And a lot of times they'll connect with me. They want to hear, they're a little skittish maybe. I'll give you a scenario. I think I should call this. My husband says I should call this place, but they told me to call you so you can tell me a little bit more about it because I'm not really ready. And it's just kind of, I can be that soft landing and that warm handoff because sometimes it's really hard to say, I need help. And I'm a safe, confidential phone call, okay? And say, hey, it's okay. Nobody needs to know you're coming. We just care about you. And the fact that you called me tells me that some things, you're wanting
there's at least
something.
A question. Yeah, there's at least a question that can be answered.
And let me, give you some information on how this rolls out, our intake, and please call, and usually those are successful. So again, they can reach out to me as well.
Well, and I learned of you because of the Illinois Joining Forces and the USO, and was having an interview with Jim and Justin. And tell us a little bit about how you would interface with people like the USO and the Illinois Joining Forces.
Yeah, good question. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I've known both of them for a long time because we both have been working in the veteran space for years. Justin Miller used to work at the Road Home program, did an amazing job, but went on into a bigger role in the USO, which I know he's doing phenomenal in. And IJF, Jim Dolan's been with IJF since I remember. He is the director over there. And I met them through outreach, okay? Doing exactly what I said earlier is my job to do, is to reach out. That's an obvious. Who am I reaching out to? Well, other veteran serving organizations. And I work beautifully alongside with both of them. And we stay in touch often. And that's how I landed here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Is there a way to talk about, do you have any numbers about how many veterans and or their family members are actively in programs with the Road Home program at any one time?
Right. Oh, yeah. That's a question that I'm probably not straight with my answer because of COVID right now, because we've seen the numbers fluctuate so much. But I'll tell you that IOP program that I was talking about, the 2 weeks for the MST and the combat veterans, we have the capacity right now to see 242 veterans a year. Okay. And those cohorts are predominantly filled. Okay, every 2 weeks. You can always get a drop, somebody that doesn't show up, or we can also get add-ons. But I'm going to give that rough estimate. Our outpatient program, Dr. Hayes, is a revolving door with veterans, family members, children of. We also offer couples therapy, but we probably see a couple hundred a month amongst our clinical staff. And, our goal is not to have a wait list, okay? We never want to look like any institution that, if you're having mental health. But with that, I'll say, in order to get accepted into that IOP, you might have to wait about 6 weeks, but it's not like you do the intake with our clinicians and then we drop you. We're going to stay in touch. We're going to get you ready. And even if you need, a few phone calls in between, our outpatient is it's not a wait list at all.
Excellent. Well, and I think that talking about the numbers like that helps, put another little dent in that stigma. I mean, there are a lot of people that come and access a program like this because of the quality of the program and because of their need. And when you meet that need and people find out about it, it starts to snowball. So,
a lot of the veterans, I even get to know a lot of our patients in our outpatient. We also forge pretty good relationships, even for the ones flying in from all over the U.S. But there is a saying and they're very proud to say it, that they're part of the Road Home family. Okay. They truly aren't a number or anything. They are really swathed in. Our whole staff are just happy to have them there. And we really, like I said, forged some pretty great relationships, and they don't want to leave.
Yeah, I get that sense when Jim and Justin were talking about it, that it's, they were very excited that I do the interview with you and find out more about this Road Home program, because it's such a powerful, nurturing, healing interaction with that program and with your clinicians and with you.
Yeah, it really is. I've been with them now 6 years, and, I've stayed here this long for a reason. Okay. It's a feel-good place. They do outstanding work, and they're still standing tall, and we see a lot of smiles and a lot of healing going on. And, I feel very strongly about it.
I know that, as we were talking earlier, you're looking forward to the time when there are no more COVID restrictions or coronavirus restrictions and people can be more active in person.
Yes.
And at the same time, it's a real boon to people that you're doing for people inside Illinois, that you're able to do that outpatient work through the telehealth. I know that is going to open it up to some people that might not have been able to take advantage of your services because of the drive time into, you're located in downtown Chicago?
Right. We're in the West Loop at Rush University Medical Center. We're on their campus at 1645 West Jackson Boulevard. We're in a separate building on the other side of the expressway because we believe in confidentiality. So we didn't want, and especially people suffering with PTSD, don't want to have to navigate a big, huge hospital with elevators. So we keep it pretty simple there. We also have a clinic down in Effingham, Illinois. We opened up that satellite. Mm-hmm.
I never understood why people hate that town so much, but that little town of Ham, and people just can't. I don't know why they hate that town. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what, 4 or 5 hours away?
It is about 4 hours, 4.5. You're absolutely right. But we found the need for veterans in rural settings.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't have resources like we do in the big city. So Dr. Blake Schroeder, who was on our staff, he was kind of the brainchild behind bringing it. And he moved down there with his family and is thriving in a road home clinic down there. And if he gets IOP, he refers them up to Chicago, but he has an amazing outpatient clinic going there along with Patricia McDaniels, one of our clinicians.
Excellent.
So fantastic. Yeah, and they're doing COVID protocol as well. And it just kind of reminded me when this COVID hit and we were all kind of freaking out and like, oh my gosh, how do we work from home? I'm so used to being out in the community, shaking hands. But watching our clinical leadership, I don't know if they slept for 2 weeks, putting together in an emergency way for us to offer our services virtually because it was new. And we had this IOP. We were flying veterans. They were on a list. They were coming to fly in, maybe the next cohort. And we had to call them and say, you can't. I mean, they're coming for mental health.
Right.
The backflips and the cartwheels they did. And for quite a while there, we were doing that IOP virtually. Now that we're back into in-person, we're not offering that. But because we can get them here safely through a lot of COVID. But yeah, it was interesting. But you know what? And true to Rush's reputation of excellence, they got it done, and we were up and running, and still serving the population even during COVID.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I usually like to ask as we get close to the end of our time, if there's something that I haven't even asked you about yet that you wanted to make sure to mention.
No, I was afraid you were going to ask me how old I am, and you didn't do that because that's still confidential. Let me think if there's something else. No, I think you're so good at this. I think we did. We covered everything.
Well, I thank you for the time to help with this project, to get the information out there, and the work you do with other Gold Star mothers and our vets. It's greatly needed and greatly appreciated.
Oh, I appreciate you as well. And I know you work in the communities, especially by doing podcasts like this, to bring awareness for a lot of mental health needs. So I appreciate you as much.
It's a special, connection because the people that are 3 of the 4 founders of Journey's Dream are doing it because they lost a family member to mental health. And so it's an honor to be able to help you promote what you do and to be able to assist that in some small way. And we are very grateful that you're assisting with the Journey's Dream project. So thank you so much, Modie.
Yeah, and I hope it's not the last time we talk. I really don't.
I'll make sure it isn't. I'll put it on the calendar.
I'd love to, meet the other founders and stuff because I think we could do some nice syncing work together. Things are starting to look a little brighter for COVID. So please stay in touch, and I enjoyed this so much.
I will put it on the calendar in 6 months to reach out and see what's happening.
That sounds great.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Modie Lavin is a USMC Gold Star mother. Modie understands the needs for mental health programs for military families firsthand. Modie's son served as corporal in the U.S. Marine Corps and deployed to Afghanistan in 2011 with the 2nd Battalion, 11th Marines. Her son, Connor T. Lowry, was killed in action on 3/1/2012 in Helmand Province, Afghanistan. Modie is the Family Outreach Coordinator at Rush University Medical Center. Prior to coming to Rush, she was the program facilitator for veterans at the Chicago Park District and worked closely with the Jesse Brown VA and other community service providers and organizations. Lavin chartered recreational-based programs for veterans as well as coordinated events. Lavin also directed resource affairs for veterans at various locations throughout Chicago, including a resource expo at Soldier Field alongside the Valor Games Midwest. Lavin and her family consistently attend ceremonies and events honoring our fallen and veterans. Modie says, as a Gold Star mother, I understand the challenges parents and families face in moving on with their lives. In the words of Gold Star Mothers founder Grace Darling-Siebold, I feel that I am honoring my son and his sacrifice for our country by helping our returning veterans and families adjust to civilian life.
You've been listening to the On Your Mind podcast, offered by Journey's Dream, where we support people through mental health challenges to a place of true and lasting well-being. If you love our show, we invite you to visit onyourmindpodcast.org to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our helpful resources. Thank you for listening.